Well, the saga just keeps on going. We've got another update from this morning. Michigan, by the way, this week, huge game at Penn State. I don't know if you guys have seen the line movement in that game. It opened Michigan minus 6.5, and in less than 24 hours, it's down to 3.5. I think everyone expects Harbaugh to be suspended before that game. The only question is how long? Is it an indefinite suspension or is it a 2-game suspension? There are rumors that right now, the Big Ten could only suspend Harbaugh for 2 games, which would be very convenient theoretically for Michigan, considering they've got 2 games and then the Ohio State game. So theoretically, Harbaugh could be back for the Ohio State game. But let's talk about what's going on right now. Don't expect any action by the Big Ten in the Michigan sign stealing case for at least the next 48 hours, as the league's sportsmanship rules allow for a reasonable chance to respond to an institution or individual. Sources have told ESPN that there'll be a legal battle if there's a punitive suspension by the Big Ten to Jim Harbaugh. Now, the number one theory going around is that Michigan is doing anything they can to preserve this season. Now, whatever happens after this season, it's whatever. There's going to be the investigation by the NCAA. There possibly could be vacated wins, a suspension for Harbaugh, but they're doing whatever they can. So Michigan has actually come out and there people are saying they're threatening to sue the Big Ten. If the Big Ten hands down a suspension to Harbaugh, it just makes no sense why Michigan would potentially sue outside of this being complete posturing, trying to save the season. They're not thinking big picture. It seems like Michigan is going all out right now. Michigan is leaking to anyone who will parrot that they will seek injunctive relief if the Big Ten takes any action against the university. Michigan would likely use this just to try to get through the conference championship and playoffs, but then find an off-ramp because discovery would be a wrecking ball for Michigan athletics, and they can't allow that to happen. So it does seem like Michigan is trying to fight this. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. The expectation is a potential 2-game suspension. I know people have kind of thrown around Michigan possibly forfeiting games, maybe the Ohio State and Michigan game being in jeopardy because apparently the Big Ten has been talking to Fox, and obviously Fox, with all of their people, they're on DEFCON 1 right now arguing that, let the NCAA handle this. The Big Ten shouldn't be involved. You have to let it play out, let it happen at the end of the season. They're looking at that Michigan-Ohio State game right down the barrel and seeing that it could potentially be 11-0 versus 11-0. That is guaranteed going to be the highest rated game of the college football season. They know that, so they're trying to make sure nothing happens to Michigan. And if something does happen to Michigan to where Harbaugh gets suspended, they want it to be a 2-game suspension, so he's out the Penn State game, and then the week after that, and then he would be back, because I think Michigan faces Penn State, Maryland, and then Ohio State, so Harbaugh would be suspended the Penn State game, the Maryland game, because it'd be a 2-game suspension, and then he would be back. Or it could be an indefinite suspension, or they could suspend not just Harbaugh, but multiple coaches for Michigan. Nobody really knows what the Big Ten is going to do. This is all just speculation. And then there was also the theory that the Big Ten could just say, we're not dealing with this. This is what Fox wants. Big Ten says, we're not dealing with this, let the NCAA handle it, which means it's going to be an off-season issue. But it doesn't seem like that's what's happening, at least with this report saying the Big Ten is allowing 48 hours. They met with Michigan on Friday. So this is all happening right now, and it does seem like something should come out on Wednesday or Thursday at the absolute latest about Harbaugh's potential suspension and that line movement. And I mean, this is just a crazy distraction. Penn State is going to have a huge advantage in this game. Michigan, I'm sure the players are preparing, but you have to be at least a little distracted by this entire saga that's going on. Again, that's a 3-point swing in terms of the line. Michigan opened minus 6.5. It's 3.5. I mean, how low is it going to go? If it's announced that Harbaugh suspended 2 games, is it going to go down to 2, possibly 1.5? Michigan traveling on the road. What if multiple Michigan coaches are suspended? It's all very interesting. The one thing I can tell you, to me, this is a battle. Is it going to be a 2-game suspension? Is it going to be an indefinite suspension? Or is it going to be a postseason ban? That's what it's going to come down to, and we don't know what type of proof the Big Ten has. Michigan, there really is no argument you can have at this point. We can see on camera even the public stuff. I'm sure there's other stuff, the stuff that's public right now. Michigan blatantly cheated. Their coaching staff cheated. They did something you're not allowed to do. That is cheating. It happened this year. It very likely happened last year. Very likely spanned in multiple conferences. And, whether or not Harbaugh wants to say he didn't know about it, that's not even an argument you can use. That's institutional control. The idea that the head coach can benefit from cheating and then get out of a penalty by saying he didn't know that cheating was going on, yet he benefits from it being the head coach, that's absolutely ridiculous. Right? Obviously, there's going to be some punishment for not only the head coach, but the rest of the coaching staff. And that's the idea to where, does it happen during the season? Does it happen in the offseason? There's a lot of money on the line right now when it comes to this situation. Michigan threatens legal action if Big Ten suspends Harbaugh. Agree with Zach 100%. Every other program in the Big Ten would love to see a legal process in which Michigan records are discoverable. Would leap to far more problems for Michigan. Michigan cannot have that happen. So it looks like they're threatening a lawsuit against the Big Ten as a way to delay a potential Harbaugh suspension and kind of just to posture until the end of the season when they'll drop it and say whatever, because right now Michigan is in a spot to where they are one of the top 2 or 3 teams. You could even argue the current favorite to win the national championship. Now, that is a bit of a leap considering their schedule has been atrocious, but they continue to just pummel teams. So this whole situation is very unique. There is only one school in the country who would get caught cheating and then proceed as if they were the victims. Ann Arbor, arrogance at its finest. Yeah, I really don't agree with that. I think if any major school, especially in the SEC, got caught with something like this, they would be doing the exact same thing. Michigan, though, is getting crazy desperate. They're starting to say, like, Ohio State was stealing all their practice video when the original argument was that Michigan was actually doing it. And I still think we're going to get something that comes out on Michigan potentially stealing Ohio State's practice video. I mean, one of the Michigan coaches got fired apparently for some type of computer crimes. I would love to look into that and see what that's all about. But this is just a situation where any team is going to do this. They're going to play the victim card. They're going after Harbaugh. They're afraid. He's so good. Michigan, they've got this crazy dynasty. Yes, Michigan, they've won a whopping 0 playoff games. Everyone is scared of Harbaugh. Everyone is deathly afraid. Yes, with their 0 playoff wins, that's why this is happening. They just want to take Harbaugh down. Obviously, guys, I'm being sarcastic, but if you are a Michigan fan, this is completely demoralizing. I mean, your team finally beat Ohio State back-to-back years, not only beat them, really embarrassed them, and now it potentially all gets tainted depending on what comes out. Seems like Michigan just wants to finish this year. If Harbaugh gets suspended 2 games, they could still very easily beat Penn State and Maryland, and then you would set up Harbaugh coming back, which might even be better ratings for Fox if you think about it. Harbaugh coming back for the Ohio State game. The other thing, it's like, obviously the one thing that Fox doesn't want is Michigan to get banned from the postseason, because that would completely invalidate the game at the end of the year between Ohio State and Michigan. It's like their best scenario would probably be, their best scenario would be the Big Ten just waiting until the offseason to do something. But again, if this report is true, where the Big Ten is giving them 48 hours to respond, it's clear the Big Ten is going forward with this. They're just doing it all 100% legally. You have to allow Michigan a chance to respond. And it seems like Michigan is going to try and take some type of legal action against the Big Ten in fighting a potential suspension, but it's not going to matter. Harbaugh's still going to be suspended. Will he be suspended 2 games? Will he be suspended indefinitely? That's all something that it's going to come down to the amount of evidence that they have. But right now you have 13, well, I don't know if it's 13, but you have a vast majority of teams in the Big Ten wanting the new commissioner to do something. And if he is very weak on a suspension, or if he doesn't suspend Harbaugh, he's going to completely lose the conference. So you also have to factor that in. This is a brand new commissioner, and this is obviously a huge unprecedented thing that we really have never seen before. So we will see what happens here. I would probably expect Wednesday or Thursday. If it's, maybe it'll come out tomorrow. Who really knows? But they're saying 48 hours to give Michigan a chance to respond and then possibly hand down some type of indefinite suspension, maybe a postseason ban, but I'm still guessing some type of 2-game maybe suspension is most likely. And then all of the other teams in the Big Ten are going to be very, very angry about that. because that does seem like it's more of, oh, we're trying to preserve our bottom line to where the Ohio State-Michigan game doesn't get touched. Harbaugh comes back for it. Very convenient, right? That lines up like that. But either way, we will see. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.